Hello, everybody. My name is Caleb, and you're watching Live for Love TV. Like, share, and subscribe. Thank you.
Like, share, subscribe to Live for Love TV.
Make sure you like, share, and subscribe to Live for Love TV.
Welcome back to Live for Love TV. Today's the 20th day of the second month of the 23rd year inside the 21st century. Hope everyone's doing well out there. I was wondering what Live for Love people think about men, I'm going to say men first, coming from first world countries, which are the rich countries, and going to the poorer countries, which are, you can call them the third world countries or developing world, or whatever you want to call them, the poorer countries, and using people in those countries for sex. Now we know that there are a lot of poor people in these countries, and the wage structure there, and the money there, and the weakness of their currency causes a lot of people to engage in this, what we call sex tourism. So there are men, and we've known about this for years, that go all over the place. They go for women, and believe it or not, they go for men and young boys as well. We know Thailand has got a terrible reputation. Vietnam, terrible reputation for Western men going there for the young boys. We know this. And for when it comes to women all over the world, you name it, sex tourism is worldwide. But what's more really spoken about is the females that come from the very same country and do the very same thing as the males do. And this happens all over the world. And it's been getting for the last 30, 40 years, it's been coming basically epidemic. Not pandemic, well maybe pandemic, but definitely epidemic. For instance, Gambia. Gambia has a big problem with sex tourism, especially from, well, I don't want to say especially just from black females, because it's also white females that go there, but a lot of African Americans, Caribbean, Jamaicans, black English females are known to go there and hook up with Gambian men. Now some get into committed relationships with them, and maybe it doesn't work in the long run. Some try to bring them back to their country that they're from, or even try to live with them. That's not what we're discussing. We're discussing about these basically one night stands, these 1 week stands, these cases where the women are using their power over these people in poorer countries. And this is these poorer people's way of surviving. I mean, being with some of these females for 1 week is better than going to work for them for probably the whole year. So it's kind of hard to throw stones at people like that in positions like that. But what do you think about it? What do you think about it? Let's have some comments on it. Is it because it's coming? I mean, we know Jamaica's had the rent-a-dread thing going on from, I don't know, 1970s, let's say the 80s, early 80s. The rent-a-dread syndrome came on. We got Stella, how Stella got her groove on and all this kind of stuff, and that was the sort of justifying that situation, going down there and finding romance and love and stuff in Jamaica. But it's well known that in all of the tourist areas of Jamaica, that females from all nations come down to Jamaica to hook up with guys. And we're not talking about relationships or emotional connections. We're talking about just a physical hookup. Finances, money exchanges hands. Many of these guys are, some of these guys are still in school, though they probably won't tell these females they're in school, but they're still in school, and they go down to the beach areas and they hook up with these females. What do you think about this? Is this something that we should be talking about? Is this something that we should look down on, or something we should, say it's okay? For me, from my perspective, if you want to hear my perspective, if a female goes anywhere in the world and she wants to hook up with somebody, that she's a grown woman, she's hooking up with a grown man, I don't have a problem, even if the person's in a poorer situation than she is. That's not really the issue with some of these people. But I think the issue is when the women portray themselves to be a certain kind of decent woman. Like, for instance, if you don't, when they go back to their place of origin, the way they treat the men in those countries. So, if you don't do this, if the man hasn't got this kind of job, he can't be with her. If the man isn't like this, if he doesn't earn this amount of salary, he can't. And this is the very same woman that will go and sleep with a man who has no job other than sleeping with women. Imagine that. So we got, I mean, I always say, I mean, with tongue in cheek, I always say, listen, the whole thing's the whole of life in itself is pretty much farcical. It's a joke because most of us are just hypocrites. We are, as human beings, more hypocrites than we are not hypocrites. We claim that we don't agree with something or like something, and then go around the corner and do exactly that same thing. And this is most of us. This is not one or two of us. This is the majority of the planet from every race. This is what we do. It's wrong when somebody else is doing it, but when we do it, we can justify it. We kind of swivel around and say, "Well, I'm not like that. I was trying to get into a relationship with a person and it didn't quite work." No, this is hypocrisy. So the reason I'm bringing up the women is because the men are known to do this. Men are known to deal with prostitutes. Prostitution apparently is the oldest profession, in the world, and so we're talking about female prostitution is the oldest profession in the world. So we know, and men used to have, concubine after concubine after concubine alongside their wives. So we know about this. This is something that it's not new. It's not a new subject. It's not something you can, everyone can be surprised by. But people have got to understand that what goes one way has almost always gone the other way. It's always been like this, even during slavery. One of the reasons that so many black men used to get hanged and castrated was because they were accused of either sleeping with a wife of the slave owner or the daughter of the slave owner or making eyes at her, when in reality it was completely the other way around. And a lot of the brothers at that time would get caught out, and that was the end of them. And that was what was happening then. So women, as always, from when they're in a position, just like any human being, when they're in a position of power over another human being, they exercise it in the way that they see fit. So I was saying, let's just start a discussion about this thing, because sex tourism in Gambia is massive. Sex tourism in Jamaica and the Caribbean, the Bahamas, is massive, absolutely massive. I mean, what percentage of females that do not come down with their husbands to these places actually end up in some sort of relationship or have a fling with guys? I'd love to know that percentage, because I know it's very high. Now we know it's Spain, Ayia Napa, all of these places, Turkey, all of it's been going on there for forever and a day. That's what people, Benidorm. I remember back in the 80s. That was par for the course. That's what happened, and it was all. What they say, what happens in Vegas stays in Vegas. We know about this, but I'm talking about on Live for Love TV, the things that we more home in on, which from our culture, is that this is what's going on. So you've got a massive amount of black Americans saying, "I need to go down to the islands." What do you think they're going to the islands for? Do you think they're really coming here to see the beauty of the Caribbean, and how beautiful the trees are, how beautiful the palms are, and the tuna behind me? And is that what they're really coming to see? They'd walk past them tuna and all them palms and noni trees, and wouldn't even give them a glance. Most of them are coming, and I have to say this, most of them are coming to hook up. And it's not a serious hookup, it's just that's what holiday's based on. It's a hookup. Now, I've got no right to say they're wrong. I've got no right to say they're wrong. I can have my opinion on it and view on it, and whether I think there's an exploitation there. But I still, even if I think they're exploiting some of these young guys, I still can't actually say they're wrong, because they're dealing with their bodies what they want to do. Now, obviously, if they're dealing with men or boys that are under the age that they would be locked up in their own country for, and going to somebody else's country to do it, then I would say that they're extremely wrong, and women like that need to be exposed. And if there could be a mugshot picture of these women on a board to saying, this is what watch out for these women, this is what they do when they go on to different islands, I'd love to see that kind of mugshot. I'd be probably looking at those females constantly to see if I recognize them anytime they come out of the airport. I say, oh, there she is. Look, see her there? Because I think that's pretty despicable. But like I said, these things go on with the males and they go on with the females. The females almost pretend it doesn't happen, and what females like to do is to say, oh no, I didn't come down there for that. Well, I've never heard a female that would admit to someone like me that she's come down for sex tourism to anywhere, whether it's Ghana, Gambia, Kenya, which happens in Mombasa quite a lot, South Africa, wherever it is. I've never heard any females say that this is what we come for. They've always come for the scenery. They've always come to enjoy some of the food and drink the coconut water. They've always come for that. Yeah, I know. We know. They'll never admit this to them. And this is why I say this is where the hypocrisy comes from. if they would admit to themselves, their girlfriends know what they come down for. Their female friends know what they come down for. Sometimes they come down in groups. Sometimes they come down individually. And when they come down and go back to where they come from, you know, they got the snaps, the holiday snaps, and they got all of that, you know, conversation about, you know, man, the yard man was this, and this man was that, and the Gambian man was this, and all. And, you know, it's all it's all good. And as I said to you already, no judgment. That's fine. But the problem comes is when you present yourself as a decent woman after behaving like that. Because if you can't admit this is what you've been doing when you're abroad, then obviously you're presenting yourself as something that you're not. If you say, oh yeah, this is, if you say to your husband or your protective husband or your boyfriend, whoever you're gonna meet, that this is the kind of life you've lived, or this is what you were doing when you were down there, and he still wants to be with you, then that is a beautiful relationship as far as I'm concerned. Because now you've come clean, you're an honest person. But what happens is that, you know, everyone's got their nose up in the air like, oh no, I wouldn't do that. Oh, well, I've never gone down there. And yet these people go to the same place, the same hotel, and to the same pool attendant and to the same tour guide constantly. Now, how many times can you go to the same tour guide without him showing you the same thing? No pun intended. But anyway, that's exactly what happens in a lot of these situations, and it's rampant. And it's rampant. And as I said already, that, you know, if these women do behave like this and then end up going back to where they come from and getting married, sooner or later, if the man has any sense, he's going to smell a rat and realize something is not right about this woman. She's not what she says she is. I believe that these things, you know, they always come out. You know, they say what's hidden in the dark will always come in the light. They come out, and then they come out in your character. So if that's your character, then there's nothing wrong with that. But then portray yourself as you are. Don't portray yourself as you're not. Don't portray yourself all highty-tighty, and if the man isn't on a certain level financially, if he doesn't behave a certain way, how dare is he looking at some other woman while he's walking down the street with you? And look at the behavior behind everyone's back that you've been having. This is something that, as I said already, I'd love to hear some comments about this. I know some people, I know females not going to really come front and center and admit this, so I don't expect that. That's not what females do. And everybody is squeaky clean. You know, everyone that goes to the Caribbean or to West Africa or even to Thailand, everyone is squeaky clean. You know, this thing is going on round the clock, all day, every day. You talk to the men, you see it, you pass by it. I mean, I've seen things. I mean, I'll be honest with you. Sometimes, you know, I'm not going to say, you know, I've got a weak constitution or a weak stomach, but I've seen some creased up old women with some young, fit brothers walking down the beach, and you know what's happening, the hookups there, and you're looking at this woman, and you're thinking to yourself, look at the creases, look at the state of this woman. I mean, she may be about 50, she may be about 60 or 70, but she looks 170, you know, and you think to yourself, wow, things are really rough for these young guys, or for these guys, if they have to hook up with someone like that, who almost nobody would hook up with in the country they've just come from. So as I said, I mean, good luck to her. She's having the time of her life, and if you've got the money and you can pay for it, do your thing. But, you know, as I said to you already, we can have our opinions on these things, and I have my opinion on these things. But I definitely will not say two consenting adults are doing anything wrong, meaning that they're not guilty of anything and they're not doing anything wrong. If my opinion is, I think that there's some exploitation going on, you people say, well, if I'm saying exploitation, therefore I say she's doing something wrong. Not necessarily, because exploitation sounds like a dirty word. It depends on how it's being used. Exploitation is not always a dirty word. You know, exploitation, you can exploit something because there's a market for it, and yet it's not. It's just the way it is. So look at what exploitation is. There is a bad side to exploitation, and you know, maybe you will think this is it, that people from richer countries going to poorer countries and, you know, paying for sex. But if men can do it, I suppose, why can't women do it? Anyway, take care. See you soon. Live for Love TV.
One step more. One step more. One step more. One step more until you reach your goals. One step more. This is Live for Love TV.